Happy Friday, everyone. How are you doing? I am alternate Jer here with the sweet little girl. Hopefully she doesn't give us a send-off like she did last Friday. uh, yep. No, Kelly, you are not late. Hello and welcome. It's good to see you. I tried to start this, but thank you for being a member for 5 months. I appreciate it very, very much. Mr. Flash Fan, how you doing? We made it. It's Friday. We're here. She's been trying to headbang on me. Hello, Gabby. Long time no see. Yes, she's here. We're all here. The gang's all here. Did I get everyone? Did I get you, Carmen? Hello, Carmen. Long time no see too. Yep, that's what I say. You ready to rock and roll? She's ready. You guys ready? I did not like your joke, Carmen. Thank you, Flash Fan. I'm confused. How did you become a member for 2 months? Not complaining, but that's awesome. Thank you. Hey, Tracy, you'll be on replay. I understand. Sometimes there's more important things in going on in the world. Enjoy. I hope it is what you wanted it to be. I hope it turned out how you wanted it to turn out. And I hope your weather's good. Oh, I got it. Okay. I was confused. I was like, wait a minute. You just got that the other day. Understood. I got it now. I'm still, I don't know. Maybe this lighting is better. But my, I still don't have light. I don't have any other lighting except for the little camera light and whatever's behind me. And that might be why she looks like a redhead. Because my lighting is weird. Just like me. All right. So today you like it better. Not so harsh. Well, I haven't parted ways with my other light yet because I'm like, you're going to work. Actually, I just haven't had a chance to have your dad look at it, Carmen. He's the electrical one of the family, so. But he'll probably just be like, toss it. Just let it go. We're going to do probably, just depending on her, maybe a shorter stream. We've got 2 witnesses for sure. One is a medical examiner, and it's not a medical examiner for Richard Mallory, which I guess I should say. We are continuing our coverage with the Aileen Wuornos trial from January 1992. But yes, Zach needs to start. This is how rumors start, Kelly. We've already got people that think Zach and I have a kid together. Carmen is the child, not the one that started it. It's not 1987. It's 1992 trial of Aileen Wuornos in Florida. They tagged her America's first female serial unaliver. We discuss it every stream. It's not true. There's been many before her, unfortunately. Also, Jedi Jess brought up a good point the other day. She's probably more of a spree unaliver because it's such a short period of time. I was going to look up to see what the difference was between a spree unaliver and a serial unaliver, and I think about it when I can't do it, and then when I can do it, I don't think about it anymore. So I don't know. Not trying to take any titles away from her. We just know that that's not true. But anyway, so because she confessed to 7 total unalivings. Hello, Sir Frank Otter. How are you doing this morning? And the defense argued a Williams rule to keep, I think I've got this right, to keep that evidence out, and lost. So I think that's how the defense felt too. We've heard of these other people. So I don't remember who we heard the other day. Today we're going to hear about, I can't say his name, so I'm not even going to try. From the medical examiner, they'll talk about finding him and they'll say his name. It's a weird last name, and I'm not going to even try to say it. And then we're going to hear from a guy named Stephen Siems, I think is how you say his last name. He's the son of the victim, Peter Siems, who they never found. They never did. They found his car, but they never found him. So we'll definitely hear from those two. I think this is going to surprise you, but I think there's some arguing from the defense right here at the beginning with the judge. Because, if she's good, I might do one more, just because we're almost done with the prosecution and I want to get to the state. So I'm trying to move it along. I just don't know that she's going to have more than 40 minutes in her today, but we'll see. We'll see. I did feed her, so she's good. I don't know the Curtis Cheese trial from 1970. What? Flashman, I wasn't even alive then. So I don't know anything about it. You have a 20-pound cat sleeping on your lap? Dang. We're almost, Gabby, you heard that one sting. He used cheese as his, come on, Flashman. Yes, she is reacting. We are almost done. The defense only puts on, I think there's 4 videos of that. And then we go through the next phase. So I don't know anything about that one, Flash Fan. I really don't. I don't know. You find all these great things. I doubt there's any footage of that out there that would be. Oh, it's from Turkey. I'll never find it. All right. I don't know. She's staring at a toy here. Oh, from Kentucky. Okay. I was like, Turkey. She has this little spinny thing here that sticks on my desk. So she's staring at it. And she gets very loud when she's thinking. It's funny. Why do I need a Texas shirt? I've got Nebraska. It's fine. I don't know anybody that lives in Texas. All right, I'm going to mute. Let me know how the sound is, and we will get started.
Yes, Judge, it's a matter that we discussed outside. We took up with Your Honor when it happened. The jury was here. We didn't want to delay the proceedings. Your Honor indicated we could put the comments on the record today. It relates to, at one point during the course of the proceedings, Your Honor said, and I don't have the quote exactly, but something to the effect of, I think we were objecting or doing something for the record, and Your Honor mentioned when this case gets to the Supreme Court. We would respectfully object and move from this trial. And we've discussed it on the record. I think Your Honor is prepared to rule on that.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
I'll come 2 other questions.
Judge, let me.
Some remark by the state, Mr. Gamora.
Yes, sir. And actually, Ms. Jenkins or Mr. Miller were closer to Mr. DeMar was by the jury. And
Your Honor, I just wanted to make the record clear. I'm not sure the court reporter picked up on what was said.
Court reporter will not inquire into your
The reason I say that, Your Honor, is that an attorney calling a juror in the middle of the proceeding is a procedure that I have not had any relation with. I don't know if any rule covers it. I know there are provisions by which the court can make inquiries.
But there's also provisions that the court does, that they can be reversed. I don't think we should get that.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Judge. What I'm saying is it's, as an attorney, you call the jury, ask the jury questions, and then you put the juror back in the jury box. That puts counsel in a very difficult position. And
And the court likewise, that's where you kind of, I would say to you, you're not going to be, have some basis for your statement, and that's all I would say.
well, it's not that, Your Honor. It's stated.
Your Honor, may I respectfully suggest something?
Yes, sir.
I likewise, like Mr. Nobles, because he and I are sitting, our relative position, didn't hear the remark. I did hear the objection. Your Honor did instruct, I think there was a request that Mr. Moore be admonished, and I think Your Honor, my best recollection said, let's clean it up or something like that.
That's correct.
Which
Yes, exactly.
in effect was an admonishment. I would take it as an admonishment. If anything, if anyone was perhaps prejudiced by that little sequence, it would be the state. The closest thing to the admonishment that I've heard in the courtroom, it was well received and nothing even or sentencing. What I'm saying is I don't believe there's any prejudice to the jurors or jury. That would be the issue.
Balls in defense counsel court, who is the
I guess the alternative, Your Honor, would be for Your Honor to instruct the jury that any comments made that are not part of the proceedings, anything they may hear mumbled under folks present, things
Very
like
right, submit to it, I'll do it.
Yes, Judge. Thank you, Your Honor. There are a couple of other matters I need to talk to Mr. Tanner about with regard to scheduling. Probably the best thing to do, John, is on this.
You told me Friday,
I have to. Bri coming in with a comment from Wednesday's stream. I'll just sit down with my sausage, ready for a fun-filled afternoon. Hi, Bri. Good morning. It's good to see you. And hilarious. I know. Here we go. Sorry.
you want to make the objection about records hearing similar fact according to my opinion. I'm ready to hear that.
Yes, Your Honor, as some of the witnesses testified, we recognize that reports from some of the witnesses, one obvious example is the report, the synopsis that Detective Farzeppo was using, had not been previously provided to the defense. There were certain other Richardson-related issues that we brought up. We objected to those, Your Honor, denied the objection. That has been unsuccessful, and our inquiry is a very simple one. If the state has knowledge of the current address and telephone number for Jacqueline Davis, in addition, whatever address and phone number was provided by Jeff Davis, we would request that those be provided to us at this juncture.
We'll do that, Your Honor. Anything else?
That's it, Your Honor.
Excuse me, Your Honor, can we still have our continuing objection as to the introduction of the Williams rule and additionally the statements? Okay, okay, we're starting a new week. Okay.
Ongoing objection.
Photograph number 76 is an aerial photograph of the scene where the body was found.
All right, so they don't introduce this woman. I had to go through to find, she's a doctor. I couldn't understand her last name. There's no closed captions, of course, but she's a medical examiner that is describing whatever that dude's name was. Charles Carskaddon. I don't know how to say his last name, but that's who she's talking about. So that's another victim. She's just going to go over some photos of where he was found. I don't believe that we see any because they're not careful with them. So if I catch something, I'll try to stop it.
Found. There are crime scene vehicles in the photograph. There's also a blue blanket present, which was placed over the body by the police present. Photograph 77 is the general area in which the body was found. However, I cannot see the body in this photograph. And photograph 78 is a photograph of the area where the body itself was found. Off to the left in the picture is the blue plastic blanket-like material which the sheriff's office had placed over the body. On top of the body itself, there are uprooted long stalks of grass, and there is also some greenish blue material which we subsequently identified as an electric blanket.
Doctor, would you please describe your autopsy findings or procedures in your findings?
This was an extremely decomposing body, and those normal processes we perform, such as eye color, height, and weight, could not be performed because of the decomposition. Following the taking of photographs, the body was x-rayed, and the internal examination was then performed. Portions of some organs of the body could be identified, but the majority of the organs were no longer identifiable. We were able to locate by x-ray and subsequently at autopsy a total of 9 lead bullets. One was embedded and fragmented in the inner part of the left upper arm along the bone called the humerus. The other 8 bullets were located in the region of the lower chest and upper abdomen. It was impossible to trace any paths of bullets. Because of the decomposition and the insect activity present, openings in the skin had been created that could not be identified as to insect activity or bullet holes. There were 2 injuries in the left upper abdomen, which I believed were probably bullet wounds.
Doctor, I'd like you to...
Objection to probably unless it's to a reasonable degree of certainty, Your Honor.
You have a question like that?
I do, Your Honor. I'd like you...
I'm sorry, on that point.
No, I would go back to it.
All right.
Doctor, when you say probably, you mean within a reasonable degree of medical probability?
Yes, I do.
Okay, no.
Withdrawn.
All right.
I'd like you to look at Exhibit 5K for identification. Don't turn that around, just keep it to yourself, please. Can you tell the jury, please, what that photograph represents?
This is a photograph taken in the autopsy room at my office of the abdomen, chest, head, and left arm region of the man that was ultimately identified as Charles Carskaddon.
Does that photograph also depict the areas of the body and the wounds which you indicated within a reasonable degree of medical probability were bullet wounds, entrance wounds?
Yes.
Your Honor, please read off the photograph the evidence.
That's all right. Yes.
Doctor, prior to coming here to testify, you reviewed your reports, did you not?
Yes.
Could you testify in this case if you did not have this photograph?
Yes.
Then we would renew the previous objections.
The objection will be sustained.
Would you continue, please, Doctor, with your findings? You indicated having located the bullets. What did you do next?
I removed the 8 bullets that I found, 1 between 2 ribs, 2 in the region of the diaphragm, the muscle that separates the organs of the chest from the organs of the abdomen, 2.
Oopsies. Zach, that's your fault. I went to say hi to you. Dang it. I don't know where we were. We're more than 6 minutes. That's your fault, Zach. Dang it. Oh my goodness. Blame it on Greencastle. I don't know. Milk, whatever. I just totally screwed up where we were. Carmen Ann. Oops. Well, now you know. Oh my goodness. I don't know where we're at. It's Friday. Sorry, Carmen. It shouldn't say things like that. Then things like that don't come out of my mouth. Don't say anything else. It's Friday. I can't help it. I don't know. All right. I don't know where we are. Let's play. Let's figure. The train is derailing.
Chest, head, and left arm region of the man that was ultimately identified as Charles Carskaddon.
Does that photograph also depict the areas of the body and the wounds which you indicated within a reasonable degree of medical probability were bullet wounds, entrance wounds?
Yes.
Your Honor, please lead off the photograph evidence.
That's right.
I think I got it close. Because when we were watching this, the little sneaky cameraman, he tries to, or she, I don't know who it is, tries to zoom in on this to try to show us this picture and gets close, but does not. I don't know. That's a fair question, Sir Frank, that not on this channel. It probably has never been railed. I mean, wait. I'm going to stop talking. Anybody want to come on and take over the stream? Anyone? Good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, ha 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 ha. Yeah. Thanks, Zach. Yep. 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 Good. Yep. Yeah. Yep. I have nothing. It's nothing. All right.
Doctor, prior to coming here to testify, you reviewed your reports, did you not?
Yes.
Could you testify in this case if you did not have this photograph?
Yes.
Then we would renew the previous objections.
The objection will be sustained.
Would you continue, please, Doctor, with your findings? You indicated having located the bullets. What did you do next?
I removed the 8 bullets that I found, 1 between 2 ribs, 2 in the region of the diaphragm, the muscle that separates the organs of the chest from the organs of the abdomen, 2 in the region of the aorta, which is the main artery of the body running along the backbone, 2 from the region of the liver, 1 from the supporting tissues of the large bowel, 1 from the region of the right kidney. I placed those 8 bullets, which were of similar appearance, into an envelope labeled with the case number and the date and placed my initials on it. I did the same thing with the fragments of bullet from the left arm, but they were placed separately.
8, as in the number.
Doctor, I'd like you to examine.
So, I guess kind of.
Exhibit 5L.
Cause of death of Charles Carskaddon was multiple gunshot wounds to the chest and abdomen.
Were any efforts made to recreate perhaps what Mr. Carskaddon's countenance, his face would look like?
Yes.
Objection, relevancy, Your Honor.
Try this in. Try it out.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor? Yes. It may not be essential for where we are at this point.
I believe you, and I think they're all here, including myself.
Your Honor, we will not ask any further questions about the construction. To your knowledge, in connection with the identification and the remains that were available, were efforts made to identify the deceased Carskaddon visually? In other words, was something done to try to identify him short of a scientific analysis, perhaps of DNA or something like that?
There were multiple efforts made.
Ultimately, did you participate in or observe any identification being made?
I did not observe the identification being made, no.
Have you had occasion to observe have you seen in the past a photograph of Mr. Carskaddon represented by Exhibit 83?
Yes, I have.
To your knowledge, was a likeness, Mr. Carskaddon, scientifically created to assist in identification?
Objection, relevancy, Your Honor.
Yes, one was created.
We had no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, I do.
Dr. Wood, how are you, ma'am?
Fine, thank you.
My name is Billy Nolis, and I'm one of the attorneys representing Ms. Wuornos. During your examination in this case, were you able to conclude anything about the sequence of the bullet shots, gunshot?
No, the body was too decomposed for that to be done.
Were you able to reach any conclusions as to the range of the gunshots?
No, again, the body was too decomposed for that type of testing.
You cannot tell us how far the decedent was from whoever it was that shot him.
No, I cannot.
And you cannot tell us which shot came first, second, third, so on and so forth.
No, I cannot.
Were you able to determine anything as to whether the decedent and whoever it was that shot him were standing or sitting?
No, I cannot.
Were you able to determine anything as to whether the decedent was moving or not at the time of the shooting?
I can tell you that the bullets are relatively closely grouped. It's relatively accurate shooting. There has not been a great deal of movement on the part of this individual, but I cannot say whether he moved or did not move at all.
So you do not know if he was moving towards the person who shot him or anything with that regard?
No, I do not.
And you indicated you could not trace the paths of the bullets.
No, I could not.
So all that you know is that they were in relatively close range.
They were closely spaced to one another. They were from front to back. That's all I can say.
And that was around the abdomen area.
Lower chest, upper abdomen, with the exception of one that hit the left inner arm, upper arm.
Were you able to conclude whether the decedent was standing above or below the person who shot him?
No.
Were you able to conclude anything regarding where the shooting took place? From
It is
your
my-
examination?
It is my opinion that the shooting did not occur where the body was found. That is the only statement I can make, however.
Were you able to conclude anything as to how the shooting occurred? As to the circumstances of it?
No.
Did you have any information about what may have occurred before the shooting happened?
No.
These questions are getting on my nerves. Do you know which order they happened? No, because nobody knows. Thank you very much, Zach. Super chat for Super Baby. If you can't hear, she responded. She's swinging in her swing, fighting a nap, as she did yesterday too. I know. But thanks, Zach. I appreciate it.
Were you yourself involved in evidence gathering in this case?
Yes.
Did you point out items of evidence to the investigators when you were at the scene to take for processing?
I requested that the investigators go over the area where the body was found with a medical detector after I left the scene. I did not remain there while that was done.
Any other items that you may have pointed out to the investigators?
No, I stayed in the immediate area of the body itself, and I did not search the area. Otherwise, that was their job to do.
Any items that were around the body that the investigators may have pointed out to you that you're aware of?
The only objects I recall are the body itself, 2 teeth, and the electric blanket and the grass.
During your examination, you did not uncover any evidence that the decedent had been shot in the face, did you?
No, there was no evidence of that. The head was x-rayed. There was no evidence of any metal consistent with the bullet in the region of the head.
So no head wounds at all?
No.
You prepared a pretty thorough report in this case relating your involvement in it, your discussion with some of the investigators involved. Do you have that report with you?
I have my report. The autopsy report is, of course, quite short because of the limited nature of what could be done, but I have it, yes.
But you did include other pages regarding your contact with investigators and so on and so forth, information relevant to your involvement in the case.
Yes, I have all my investigative notes.
During your involvement in this case, did you become aware of Investigator Muck speaking to the decedent's mother?
I'm sure that I did, but I would like to check my notes.
Sure.
Yes, we were called on December 12th, 1990 at 9:19 in the morning.
Did you become
Are you talking about this guy, Sir Frank? This one or the one with the Tom Selleck mustache? I can see this guy doing it. But the other one might be more TV friendly looking. You know what I mean? Photogenic, whatever. Still, that's kind of crazy. Where you play yourself. I'm a lawyer. I'm playing a lawyer. Oops, sorry. Whoop. Things are off. Yeah, okay. I don't remember which one is which. The lead one. There's way too many attorneys in this thing.
become aware of information relating that the decedent had a .45?
I do not have that information now.
You indicated he had not been shot with a .45.
That is correct.
During your involvement in the case, did you also become aware of information that law enforcement was looking for a homosexual killer?
No, I was never told that.
Do you have your report with you?
Yes.
Can you turn to page 2? Paragraph.
All right, so remember, because I did hear this part, this is back in the 90s. They're going to talk about whatever he was saying about this guy being a homosexual or whatever, they're going to talk about deviant behavior. It's very different than today. So just a reminder, things have changed, but it was different then. And they would look at that being in that kind of a relationship very differently than they would today. And Zach, if you have a photogenic memory, you should know where the Greencastle exit is.
2-second sentence. Just read that to yourself.
That is a phone call from Detective Muck to one of my investigators, and that sentence is present.
Detective Muck indicated to you that law enforcement was considering the issue of a homosexual killer.
Yes, they may have a homosexual killer.
During your involvement in the case, did any of the law enforcement officers relate to you why they thought Mr. Carskaddon may have been involved in a homosexual killer type situation?
Not that I recall, no.
I have nothing further. Thank you, Doctor.
Dr. Wood, you've had occasion to investigate homicides in which homosexuals have killed someone, haven't you?
Yes, many times.
In your experience as a forensic pathologist, is it unusual to find that a person with deviant sexual preferences may kill in a rage and inflict multiple wounds upon the victim?
That is common.
With regard to the bullet wounds and the various orders, Your Honor, may Mr. DeMoore step forward again? Mr. DeMoore, may he remove his coat, Your Honor? And may the doctor step down? Doctor, would you, if you would, using Mr. DeMoore as a demonstrable object, mark on Mr. DeMoore the areas in which the wounds that you could identify were found, and either the quadrants or the height within the body the bullets were found.
The two probable bullet holes that I was able to identify were both in the left upper quadrant of the abdomen. They were separated from each other by 1 inch, and one lay directly 1 inch above the other. They were to the left of the midline and above the umbilicus, so they would be in this general region 1 inch apart. There was a 5 by 6 inch area of absence of skin in the region of the left chest, consistent with insect activity. There were also multiple areas of injury to the skin in the region of the left chest and the left upper abdomen that I could not state as to whether they were bullet holes or whether they were insect injuries.
So all of the bullets that you recovered were located between where and where?
They were located from the level approximately here to here, being the region of the diaphragm, or the muscle that separates the organs of the chest and the abdomen, the liver, the midline, the kidney, the region of the large bowel, one in the back between the 8th and 9th ribs, which is down low in the back, and then one in the left arm.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Moore, return to seat and the doctor as well. Thank you, Your Honor.
Hello, Taya. How are you doing? Good to see you. Hope you're having a great Friday. And that you have some nice weather wherever you are.
Mr. Nolas asked you if you could tell what attitude the body was in when the bullets were fired, correct?
Yes.
And you can't tell the jury whether the deceased was standing up when he was shot, sitting down. Is that correct?
No, I cannot.
In fact, he could have been flat on his back when some of the shots were delivered, couldn't he?
Yes.
Do you know which bullet was fired by the assailant first?
No, I do not.
You know which bullet was fired second?
No, I do not.
You know which bullet was fired third?
No, I do not.
Fourth?
No.
Right on through ninth?
No, the body was too decomposed for me to tell anything about the order in which the gunshots were fired.
There's no question he was shot 9 times, is there?
There's absolutely no question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Doctor, you were able to determine, you indicated from the location of the shots that they were fired quickly.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I withdraw the objection.
That's not what I said. What I said was that the bullets struck in a relatively limited area of the body.
And what does that tell you?
That tells me that there was not a great deal of movement between the shooter and the victim during the shooting, and that they were essentially facing one another, but it doesn't allow me to tell their relative exact position.
From your examination, you did not determine the distance between the person who pulled the trigger and the decedent, did you?
No, the kinds of tests that we can normally do were totally prohibited by the amount of decomposition.
Nothing further. Thank you, Doctor.
Any further, just one more get on you.
May I ask one more question, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Were you present when the fingerprints were rolled in Mr. Carskaddon?
Yes.
No further question, Your Honor. Thanks. Thank you, Doctor.
Anything further?
No, thank you, Doctor.
Any witness survey you may require?
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, would you tell us your full name, please?
Stephen Siems.
And Mr. Siems, how old are you?
I am 24 years old.
And can you tell us who your father is, sir?
Peter Siems.
All right, sir. Mr. Siems, when is the last time that you saw your father?
That would have been in April of 1989. Or no, 1990.
Sir, and where were you living at that time?
Arkansas.
Okay, and do you have an occupation?
Yes, I'm a mechanical engineer.
And did your father have an occupation?
He was retired, sir.
Okay, and what profession was he in prior to his retirement?
He was a merchant marine.
Did there come a point in time when he developed any other type of working arrangements?
Mostly he worked either part-time with the church or some other missions organization.
What would he do with the church or the mission? Tied in, Your Honor.
Right.
Thank you. Taya, I appreciate it. And welcome to the jury pool. And I do hope that you get your Discord to let you sign back in so you can come and join ours. It's pretty easy going in there. Nothing too crazy. Just a little hijinks and shenanigans now and then by some of us. I won't say who. But thank you for becoming a member. Cannot talk. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
He would either help out with transporting people to and from the church or help out around the church, like with landscaping, stuff like that.
Sir, do you have a maternal or paternal grandmother?
Yes, I do.
Where does she live?
She lives in West Milford, New Jersey.
Now, can you tell, you can go back in mind to the month of June 1990. You were anticipating seeing your father during the month of June?
Yes, I was.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you and why you're expecting to see him.
He was going to be taking a trip from Florida to New Jersey to visit his mother, or my grandmother, And after that, for staying a week there, he was going to spend a week with me. He was going to take, from New Jersey, he was going to go to Arkansas and visit me.
Did your father ever make that trip to your knowledge?
No, he didn't.
Did he ever arrive at your location or your grandmother's?
No, he did not.
Did your father write you and tell you of his travel plans?
Yes, he did.
Did he indicate to you that he was planning on leaving Jupiter on June the 7th of 1990? All right, sir, can you tell us when you were expecting your father to leave the Florida area, heading to visit his mother and grandmother?
It would have been around the 7th to 9th of June.
And did your father indicate to you, as was his practice, how he would let you know when he had arrived or if he had arrived?
Objection, Your Honor, meeting in proper form.
I'll be very honest. Mr. Siems, did your father make any arrangements with you as to how he would let the family know when and if he would arrive?
He was supposed to call me when he was going to leave New Jersey to go to Arkansas.
Did you ever receive that call?
No, I didn't.
Was your father the type of man that would have just negligently failed to call you?
No, he was not.
Was your father in the habit of disappointing you if you expected a telephone call?
Your Honor, objection.
Now, sir, were you familiar with any of your father's personal property?
Yes, I was.
Were you familiar with any type of luggage he might carry?
Yes, sir.
And were you familiar with his automobile?
Yes.
Were you familiar to the extent of knowing his automobile to know what his license tag was?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall the number from your memory?
Yes, it was a Florida Challenger plate. The letters were AFN and the number 065.
How is it you're able to remember those numbers?
When we used to go on vacations when I was a small boy up to New Jersey, we used to stop at hotels, and he could never remember the license tag numbers, and he'd always have to come back out from the lobby or the office to get them off the car. And I would usually be tired at that point in the day when we went to the hotel, so I would usually go in with him, and I memorized the car tag just so we could hurry on and get to the room.
All right, so let me show you, if I may approach, Your Honor, what has been introduced in evidence and identified previously as State 60 in evidence. And a composite exhibit 84A and 84B. And I ask you if you're able to recognize the automobile that is portrayed in those photographs.
Yes, this is his car.
You follow Peterson?
Yes, that's correct. Sir, if you could please, can you describe for the jury the type of suitcases your father might have been traveling with? Yes, we basically shared luggage. It was a family consortium of luggage, so we'd all usually either share the same luggage or use the same luggage. And I had a blue bag, a blue suitcase with a brown trim of brown leather that went around the center of the bag. I remember that. And there was.
Let me show you, if I may, what has been previously marked as an exhibit states used for use identification. Ask if you'll take a close look at this. So what I'd like to know is if you can identify this as your father's suitcase, as the one you described in the Go down and open it.
Yes, this is a suitcase.
Suitcase you gave your father.
Yes, I've used this suitcase myself going to college.
All right, so go ahead and have a seat. Thank you. Let me show you, so it's been previously submitted in evidence that states 4 S's for identification. I ask you if you're able to recognize that bag.
Yes, I do.
Now, whose bag is that, sir?
It was my father's. My brother, I believe, gave it to him when he returned from a trip from somewhere.
And let me show you, sir. The previously marked identification purposes as states 4 R's for identification. Are you able to recognize this item?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what brand it is?
It's General Electric.
You know whose property it was?
It was previously mine. I gave it to my father when I left for Arkansas.
And when was that when you gave it to your dad?
It would have been early in 1990.
Let me ask you this, sir.
Things have
The
changed, Carmen.
cassette that you see in there, do you recognize that at all?
No, I don't.
You do recognize the radio cassette?
Yes, sir.
So can you tell me if your father had any type of windbreaker type jacket?
Yes, he had a light tan windbreaker.
Let me show you, sir, what the previously marked identification purposes the state's quadruple T for identification.
Yes, that was his.
Of your father's.
Mhm.
Carmen, this is the son of the victim, Peter Siems. This is Stephen Siems, and he's identifying all his father's possessions that Aileen was found that she had in her possession, some of these things, and tried to pawn them. I do believe they found his car, and I feel bad for this guy because they never did find him. They never found his dad, and so who knows why she couldn't hide 6, but she hid 1. I'm not sure. But so that's why they're having him, they're identifying his stuff. Also, one thing I won't miss about this trial is the crinkling of the paper.
So let me also show you with the marked identification purposes that states 4 keys for identification. Let me ask you to examine the bag and its contents and tell me if you're able to recognize either the bag or any of the contents of it.
The bag is his. I have one similar to it. As to the contents, I can't be certain of anything in here that I recognize.
When you and your father and your family went on vacation, is this a tote bag you took with you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how are you able to recognize this as his bag?
Because he and my brother, we were going on a trip and they both bought a toiletry case for themselves and they were both the same kind and I have one just like it, so that's how I know it's his.
You ever had occasion to go through the contents of your dad's bag?
Yes, on several times when I was in the bathroom, I'd look for tweezers or fingernail clippers and stuff, so. But I don't recognize any of this per se.
Let me show you, sir, and ask you to examine what the mark that states 4 cues for identification. Be able to recognize that?
If I'm correct, these are, he used to cut my hair, and these would be the scissors that he used to cut my hair with.
May the record reflect, Your Honor, that state 4Q for identification was removed previously and marked as an exhibit from the tote bag described by the witness. Did your father have any type of lighting equipment that he would carry in his automobile?
Usually he carried flashlights in case of emergency.
Can you remember the color of it?
Yes, it was yellow with black trim.
So let me show you what the mark for identification purposes of photograph states 5 Gs for identification. I asked you if you were able to recognize that.
Yes, this was the flashlight that he would have carried.
Where would he normally carry that flashlight?
In the trunk of the car.
When your father would travel on trips, would he have any reason to carry any type of reading materials with him?
Objection, Your Honor.
I suppose he'd carry his Bible with him or any other literature I'm not sure of.
Reserve argument, Your Honor. Later.
Yes, sir.
After your father left for that trip to your home and your grandmother's, you ever seen him again?
No, I haven't.
Anyone in your family, to your knowledge, ever heard from him again?
No, sir.
Your Honor, ask the next.
How long had your father and mother been married at the time of June 7th? How established judge are you relative?
All right, sir. See,
How long have they been married?
More than 25 years.
In all those periods of years, did you know your father ever to go off periods of time where your mother or your family did not know where he was?
No, sir.
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you describe the relationship between your family, your father, your mother, your brothers, as to whether or not he would, I just finished the question,
go ahead, finish it.
as to whether or not it would be his normal behavior simply to disappear?
Objection, Your Honor.
Just finish.
Thanks, Zach. I appreciate it. I wish you guys could see what I could see. She is fighting a nap so hard right now. She keeps like closing her eyes and then it's like, no, I'm not going to sleep, not doing it. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sir Frank, Canadian geese and humble in the same sentence? I'm afraid I have to disagree, sir. No. Those things are mean. I was in Boston when I was in 8th grade with my parents, and there was some Canadian geese there, and that little jerk, I was trying to be nice to it, and it freaking started chasing me. And then we have a pond where my son and daughter-in-law live, and we get Canadian geese there all the time. And they are mean. They are so freaking mean. They hiss at you when you're trying to get in your car. One stood in front of my daughter-in-law's car and would not move. Would just not move. And she was trying to leave. And they are so mean. They're not humble. Yes. Mean. All right, off topic.
Just one moment.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, please the court at this time, the state would offer the evidence submitted to the witness and identified as that of his father, Peter Siems, as state's evidence in this cause.
Counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. We obviously have the running objection that we discussed. We also would object to the suitcase as not having been tied in at all. There's no testimony that's been heard here as to where that item was recovered. And until the state presents such evidence, that item is inadmissible. We also,
Your Honor, may I respond very briefly?
similarly, Your Honor, the contents have also not been tied in by the state in any way whatsoever. Of the small bag. And as to some of these items, we have not heard testimony, and neither has the jury as to how and where they were recovered. And I think that's something that needs to be presented here before the evidence becomes admissible. Finally, we object on relevancy grounds to the evidence as a whole, and I would reserve the right to present to Your Honor argument on that in a later, but not too much later.
Your Honor, unless my memory escapes me, a large gentleman, Ward Schwope from FDLE, identified each and every one of these exhibits in open court as having been found at the Jackson warehouse.
The contents of the bag, and I can't see these. I
Judges,
understand is that the tote bag, the one referred to as tote bag or suitcase?
The suitcase, Your Honor, is what we're objecting.
as to that, Your Honor, the state is not offering the contents of the suitcase, we're only offering the suitcase.
All right, so take the evidence out outside the jury and outside the jury in a few moments. Go ahead.
Okay, Your Honor, the other contents we were addressing, the contents of the small bag, which is sitting right in front of the witness at this time, which he stated he could not identify. The suitcase, the large suitcase, we would object to in its entirety.
Yes.
The tote bag and the other items, the previous objections on.
Understood that from the little objection, all right. The objection that overrode the bag contents is staying. And that clerk removed those and put them in another bag and mark them for identification to hide the exhibit.
Your Honor, since the scissors were identified by the witness and they were from the contents of the tote bag, they're being accepted.
Scissors will be evidence.
over the previous extent.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
I have nothing further of this witness at this time.
Yes, you may inquire.
Your Honor, I have no questions of this witness.
Judge, may he remain just for a brief time? Sir.
Hang on.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry for the delay. Sir, would you please introduce yourself this morning to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
I'm the Dixie County Sheriff, City, Florida.
So, Mr. Penn, you kind of have a soft voice. It's a little difficult to hear way back here. So can I ask you to project all the way back to me so I can make sure the last group here?
Yes.
Okay, I think that microphone is working, so use that if necessary. Sir, you are employed as a detective with the Dixie County Sheriff's Office.
That's correct.
How long have you been with the Sheriff's Office?
Approximately 16 years.
And how long have you been a detective?
Probably for 13 years of that.
Back on November the 19th of 1990, were you employed as a detective with the Dixie County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I was.
Did you have an occasion to become involved in an investigation of a suspicious death in your county?
Yes, I did.
Could you describe to us how you first became involved and where you went?
I was dispatched to the scene of a body approximately 8 or 9 miles north of Cross City, which is in Dixie County.
All right, sir, can you describe what you saw when you arrived at the scene?
I viewed a near nude white male person that was laying beside a wooded road just on the shoulder of the road when I arrived there.
Now, can you describe the general location where the body was found?
It is out in a very remote area of my county. There's no residential housings or any businesses out in that area, probably 6 or 8 miles. And the body scene was on a 2-rut log-in road.
Was the body in any way adjacent to any other thoroughfare or highway?
Approximately 2,000 yards off of a major 4-lane highway of Highway 19.
Now, what, if anything, did you do once you arrived at the scene?
The scene was secured by myself and other officers. Crime scene tape was put up, and then the Florida Department of Law Enforcement crime lab section was called to process and document the scene.
Did you make any observations about the body that you were describing to the jury?
Yes, I did. As I said, the body was near nude except for a pair of white tube socks that he had on his feet. And I observed what appeared to be 4 bullet wounds to the man. 3 of them was to his back, and 1 of them was to the base of the head.
In what area of the head, sir?
Just to the base of it, just above the hairline.
You're describing, for the record, with your right hand, the back base of the skull, of your skull?
That's correct, yes.
In the back of the head?
In the back of the head.
Now, there's a point in time during the course of your investigation that you made an attempt to identify that individual.
I did.
Can you describe to the jury how you were able to identify the individual you found on November 19th, 1990?
We learned that the victim had been a reserved officer with the Barton County Sheriff's Office in the past. And from fingerprint comparisons, he was identified as Walter Gino Antonio.
Did you do anything further to assist you in making sure of your identification?
After we had a tentative...
Objection, Your Honor, unless the witness conducted a fingerprint analysis and has personal knowledge.
Any objection? Can you make further predicate?
Yes, sir. Well, I think we've already gone past the fingerprints. Did you locate any individual that knew Mr. Antonio?
I did. I located his fiancee, Miss Aileen Berry, who lived out in Cocoa, Florida. And she actually viewed the body and confirmed our identification as Walter Gino Antonio.
Now, during the course of your investigation, were you able to locate any articles of personal property of Mr. Antonio? And first, before you answer that, when you arrived at the crime scene, when you found the body, Were you able to find any personal property of the individual in that area of the body, anywhere adjacent to the crime scene?
No, we did not.
How about any vehicles?
No, we did not.
Did there come a point in time during the course of your investigation that you did locate various personal items of Mr. Antonio's?
Yes, we later found properties of his.
Can you describe what you did during the course of your investigation?
We found a ring that had been pawned at the OK Pawn Shop in Daytona Beach, Florida, that was identified as being that of Mr. Antonio. The ring had been pawned on December the 7th and had been pawned under the name of Cammie Marsh Green.
And did you subsequently recover that ring, sir?
I did, yes.
And was that ring identified by any individual as being the property of Mr. Antonio?
That was identified by Mrs. Aileen Berry, who had purchased the ring for Mr. Antonio as a gift.
Now, did you go further to locate any additional personal property of Mr. Antonio?
Yes, we found the numerous pieces of clothing and his wallet with several pieces of identification and other personal papers that had his name recorded on them up in Perry, or in Taylor County, Florida, which is a county that adjoins Dixie to the north. This scene being about 38 miles north of where the body was found.
And did any of those identifications, or was that in the wallet that you described, was there any items of value such as cash or currency?
There was no cash or currency, no.
There was personal identification?
Yes, there was.
Any type of credit cards, things of that nature?
Several credit cards, a driver's license, social security cards.
And were those items taken into evidence and submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for processing?
Yes, there was.
Were you able to recover a vehicle belonging to Mr. Antonio?
Yes, we later recovered the vehicle.
Can you describe to the jury the date when the vehicle was recovered and your involvement in that investigation?
The vehicle was recovered on November the 24th of 1990 and was recovered in Brevard County. The vehicle had been abandoned in a wooded area. There was no identification features on the vehicle. There was no license plate mounted on the vehicle. The identification number behind the windshield had been a piece of paper covering it from view from the outside of the car.
Were there any keys located with the vehicle?
No, there was not.
Was the vehicle locked?
Yes, it was, with the exception of the trunk.
Was the trunk in a closed position?
It was down and closed, yes.
Now, during the course of your investigation, did you have any contact with an individual known as Rose McNeil?
Yes, I did.
And can you describe your investigation and how this deal was involved with that?
During an interview with Mrs. McNeil, she being the owner of the Fairview Motel in Port Orange, Florida, or Harbor Oaks area. And during the course of the interview, she was shown two photographic lineups. One bearing the photograph of Ms. Wuornos.
And was Ms. McNeil able to make an identification of Ms. Wuornos?
Yes, she did.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, we're talking about a photographic line identification that's clearly an exception. You can answer that, sir.
Yes, she did identify Ms. Wuornos from those lineups.
Do you see the individual that was identified in the photograph by Mrs. McNeil in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you identify her, please, for the record?
Objection, basis of knowledge, Your Honor.
Make further questions.
All right, so are you familiar with the defendant, Aileen Wuornos?
Yes, I am.
Are you familiar with her photograph?
Yes, I am.
The photograph that was picked out by Rose McNeil, was that the photograph of Aileen Wuornos, the defendant seated in this courtroom today?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Objection, basis of knowledge, Your Honor.
Make no rule.
You can identify if you can, sir.
Ms. Wuornos is sitting here in the pinkish colored outfit here directly in front of me.
May the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Aileen Wuornos.
Over objection, Your Honor.
No rule.
Now, sir, did Ms. Rose McNeil at that time indicate to you what name she knew the defendant, Aileen Wuornos, as?
She knew her as both Lee and as Cammie Marsh Green.
Were you able to determine the whereabouts of Ty Moore at the time? Excuse me, let's go back if we may. During the course of your interview, did you also have a photographic lineup including the photograph of Tyler Moore shown to Ms. McNeil?
Yes, I did.
And was Ms. McNeil able to identify Tyler Moore's photograph?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Now, in conjunction with the automobile that you recovered of Mr. Antonio's, did you do anything to determine through vehicle identification the ownership of that vehicle?
Yes, we ran both the VIN number and the license plate number of that vehicle.
And based upon that investigation, you determined who the owner was?
Yes, it come back registered to Walter Gino Antonio.
And were you able to determine Mr. Antonio's date of birth?
Yes, I did.
And what was that, if you recall?
It was November the 22nd of 1930.
November the 22nd of 1930.
Yes, sir.
And you found him on November the 19th of 1990, is that correct?
That's an answer, John.
How old would Mr. Antonio have been as of November the 19th of 1990?
59 years old, sir.
Now, did there come a point in time when you showed Ms. McNeil or present when photos were shown of the vehicle you identified as Mr. Antonio's?
Yes, I was.
And did Ms. McNeil describe to you if she had ever seen that vehicle before?
Yes, she said she'd seen a vehicle of that.
Objection, hearsay, Your Honor.
Was the witness able to identify the vehicle that you had previously identified as owned by Walter Gino Antonio?
Yes, she did.
Was Ms. McNeil able to describe to you who was in possession of that vehicle when she saw it?
She said that Ms. Wuornos was in possession of the vehicle at the time she saw it.
Was she able to indicate whether or not the vehicle was substantially in the same condition that you had found it in when she had seen it in the possession of the defendant?
Yes, I believe it was.
Did she indicate whether or not there was any tag on the car?
There was no tag displayed at the time she saw it.
Did she indicate whether or not you had any conversation with Ms. Wuornos as to why she had possession of the car, whether or not, and the reason for the tag being missing?
Yes.
Objection, hearsay, within hearsay, Your Honor.
Were you able to determine as part of your investigation the whereabouts of Ty Moore from November the 17th on?
Yes, I was.
And could you tell us where you investigate, what that revealed to you?
I found 2 aircraft plane tickets that Mrs. Moore had boarded a plane on November the 17th and had left the state going to the state of Ohio and returning on November the 25th.
You had both the exiting from the state of Florida and the return of Tyler Moore.
That's correct, yes, sir.
And through the course of your investigation, was that information confirmed to you by Rose McNeil?
Yes, that's correct.
Objection, hearsay, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may I approve?
Yes, sir.
Does the button have the court's indulgence for a moment?
Yes, sir.
So let me show you what has been marked for identification purposes as states. That 6I1, 2, 3, and 4, and ask you if you can recognize these photographs.
Yes, I do, sir.
All right, so can you tell, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, what is contained in state 6I1 for identification?
This photograph here depicts the area that we found the body. The farther portion here being the intersection with Highway 19 and depicts the ribbon that we put up protecting the scene.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of the crime scene as you saw it on November the 19th, 1990?
Yes, it is.
All right, sir. I'd ask you, sir, if you could describe what is contained in states 6I3 for identification for the jury.
This depicts Mr. Antonio's body as we found it laying on the morning of November 19th.
Objection to the publication.
All right, without showing it to the jury, so if you'll just describe, is that a fair and accurate representation of the condition of Mr. Antonio's body as you observed it on November the 19th, 1990?
Yes, it is.
Is that, let me show you, sir, if I may, what has been marked as states 6I4 for identification, and ask you if you can recognize that photograph.
This is a closer view of Mr. Antonio, and it also better depicts the wounds that we found Mr. Antonio with.
Does this photograph describe the wounds that you've testified to the back of Mr. Antonio?
That's correct,
And
yes.
how many wounds are visible in the photograph in state 6I4 for identification?
There's 3 visible in this photograph.
Okay, were you able to determine during the course of your investigation whether there was a 4th wound to the body?
Yes, we did.
Okay, is that clearly visible in this photograph? And if it is or is not, can you explain why?
It is not visible in this photograph, and again, the 4th wound that we found was in the hairline. And
Objection, Your Honor, unresponsive.
That's the question.
Was the 4th wound clearly visible to you at the time of the scene?
no, it wasn't.
Were you able to see anything that indicated to you as an investigator that there was a wound to an area of the body that you were not able to clearly see?
Yes, we did.
How was it that you were able to make that determination?
From seeing blood in the hair.
And where was the blood in the hair? If you use me, please, as an example.
Blood was located approximately here, about an inch above Mr. Antonio's hairline
Your Honor, may the record
in the back
reflect
of the hair.
that the witness is identifying the back of my skull, but underneath the hairline, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of Mr. Antonio's body as you saw it on November 19th, 1990, sir, with the wounds to his back?
Yes, it is.
Let me ask you this, sir. Can you identify state 6I2 for identification? And if you can, sir, can you tell us what it depicts?
This is Mr. Antonio's facial features as we found it at the scene of the body.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of Mr. Antonio and the condition of his face at the time?
Yes, it is.
All right, so let me show you, if I may, what has been marked for identification purposes as state 6J, as in John, for identification. Ask you if you're able to recognize those photographs.
These are the photographs of Mr. Antonio's vehicle and or the photographs that was used to show Mrs. Rose McNeil on the date of her interview.
Did any other individual identify those photographs to you as the automobile of Gino Antonio?
Yes, this vehicle has been,
Objection here, so Your Honor.
He can describe whether or not someone else identified. I'm not asking what they said.
it was identified again by a registration check of the VIN number.
And is this the vehicle you've described as being located, and is this substantially in the same condition as when you observed it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, the tag was missing?
Yes.
Were you able to determine whether or not there were any type of stickers or other identification on the car that had been on it prior to your observing it?
No, sir.
So did you have occasion to attend the autopsy of Mr. Antonio?
Yes, I did.
And when did that occur?
That occurred on November the 20th of 1990.
The following day?
Yes, following day.
And it was the same body that you saw that you described as Walter Antonio autopsied by the medical examiner's office in your presence?
Yes, it is.
Let me show you, sir, what has been marked as a composite exhibit. State 6B, State 6C, and State 6D as in David for identification. Ask you if you can recognize those photographs.
Yes, the two smaller ones are that of Mr. Antonio at the date of the autopsy. One showing the wound to the head is
Objection to the description, Your Honor.
one showing the shaved hair and showing the fourth wound that we found on Mr. Antonio.
Was that the wound that you described as being covered by the man's hair that you saw on November the 19th, 1990?
That's correct. Yes,
That was
sir.
revealed to you by the medical examiner?
Yes, sir. And the larger photograph again showed a close view of the wounds to the back that was taken at the scene of the body.
Are they all of these fair and accurate representations? State 6D for identification, as you saw the body of Mr. Antonio and the wounds to his back on November the 19th, 1990.
Asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained.
All are fair and accurate representations, sir?
Yes, they are.
So let me show you what has been marked for identification purposes as states 6K for identification, and ask you if you recognize that photograph. Madam Clerk, may I proceed?
Yes, this is Mr. Antonio.
this the same individual that you saw on November the 19th at the crime scene and on November the 20th being autopsied?
Yes, it is, sir.
Sir, if I may please, I'll ask you to take a look at states 6G's for identification. Ask you if you recognize the envelope, and if you would please open that up and tell me if you can identify the contents of state 6G for identification.
This envelope contains Mr. Antonio's ring and an envelope from the pawn shop. And it bears a date and my initials and my agency case number.
Would you open it up, please, sir? All right, if you go ahead and put it right back on top of the decline for the time being. During the course of your investigation, did you go so far as to determine who had purchased that ring for Mr. Antonio?
Yes, I did, sir.
And how did you go about doing that?
Through interviews with his fiancee, Miss Aileen
Objection
Wuornos.
asked and answered here, so Your Honor.
Did you obtain any documentation as to if, when, and where that ring was purchased by Miss Berry for Mr.
Same
Antonio?
objection, Your Honor.
Can answer that.
Yes, I did get some documentation showing that purchase.
Let me show you, if I may, sir, what has been marked as states 6F's for identification. Ask you if you would take a look at it and please open up the plastic bag and inspect the contents.
This is Mr. Antonio's wallet that was found at the clothing scene in Taylor County,
Now, it's approximately how many miles away from Mr. Antonio's body?
38 miles.
You can add one more. And is that the wallet that you found some 38 miles from Mr. Antonio's body, as you described to the jury with the contents?
Yes, it is, sir.
Was there any money found therein?
No, sir, there was not.
Okay, in the personal identification, were there any photographs of Mr. Antonio on any type of the identification?
Yes, the Florida driver's license with his photograph, which seems to be the same as the 8 to 10 here.
So thank you very much. Sir, if I can, if you take a look, please, at what has been which has been marked as 3 J's for identification. Ask you if you can point out on the map the location where Mr. Antonio's body was recovered in your county, and what number, if any, it is designated by.
Okay, the number 7 would show the location of his body.
All right, sir. And can you show us the location where the automobile was recovered?
Yes, this was back by 7A.
All right, so may the record reflect, Your Honor, the witness has pointed to the number 7 and 7A, the 7 as the body location of Mr. Walter Antonio, and 7A as where his car was located. Thank you, Your Honor.
Right. The running objection, Your Honor.
Yes,
It's the same rules as the last few days. Right. Thanks, Judge.
Sir, I'm going to ask you, if you would, in the presence of the jury, to place a sticker indicating the location. The approximate location of where Mr. Antonio's body was found on the map. You would, sir? And if you would, sir, could you, if you don't mind peeling the tape, and show us where Mr. Antonio's car was located? Your Honor, may I have just one moment? Yes, sir. Okay. For the record, Your Honor, the witness has placed number 7 and 7A on what has been introduced in evidence. It states 42 in evidence. May I publish that to the jury? Yes, sir. If I can have just one moment.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you tell us when the car was recovered, whether there were any items of value found in it?
Has been answered, Your Honor.
Not,
Go ahead. Overruled.
No, so there was no valuables.
thank you very much, Roger.
Carmen just sent me a text message that says, it looks like I'm suffocating. You can hear her. I'm not suffocating her. She's just laying on my lap. She's been spinning her little spinner thing with her foot. And she's been doing it on purpose, and she's been entertaining herself and still fighting this nap. I promise you she is fine. I can't help it what it looks like. But yes, she's fine. Yep, you can hear her. Sorry.
No further questions, witnesses this time, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Detective Lieutenant, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, sir.
My name is Billy Knowles. I'm one of the attorneys representing Ms. Wuornos. Did you bring your reports in reference to this case when you came here to testify today?
I don't have them in the courtroom with me, no, sir.
Did you bring them outside somewhere?
They're in my vehicle, yes, sir.
Let me ask you about this chart. Before you pin this thing, these little stickums you put here, you looked at this chart, correct?
That's correct,
And
yes.
this chart has already been pre-pinned, has it not?
Yes, sir, it has.
And you looked at this one before you put the stickums on this one.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Do you know who pre-pinned the other chart?
No, I do not, sir.
Do you have your reports in this building in reference to this case?
No, sir.
Do you have them in this county?
Yes, sir.
Where are they in this county?
In my vehicle in the parking lot.
Your Honor, we would request that the detective provide his reports to us formally at this juncture. We have received no reports in reference to Dixie County.
Your Honor, all reports in possession of the State Attorney's Office of Volusia County have been supplied to defense counsel. There's never been a request for any additional documentation. I can submit to the court every page, every item, every photograph in my possession or the State Attorney's Office has been supplied to him.
So if he wants what this man has, let's go get it right now. We're just going to wait right here.
Thank you, Judge.
You may stand there and we'll get through this.
May the record reflect, Your Honor, that reports have in fact been submitted to defense counsel from this officer, and I have my discovery receipt to prove that.
Well, Your Honor, that's an issue we can take up at a later date, but I'm telling you, we don't have anything from
We'll get
Dixie
your
County.
report, sir.
Judge, well, the witnesses outside the court, and I fix some more stickers.
Yes, sir.
Does maybe take this opportunity to publish, well, I haven't actually introduced it, witness not. Maybe I can take this opportunity, Judge, I don't think we need the witness for this, but maybe offer a few items of identification in evidence.
Mr. Knowles, you want to do anything today?
Yes, Judge.
Of course, we'll do it.
Let me inquire, will the safety officer introduce the license? Yeah.
I have other reports from other agencies that concerned all of the cases, such as FDLE officers and that type of thing, sir.
Do you have any other reports in your vehicle regarding Dixie County?
No, sir.
I'm sorry?
No, sir.
Do you mind if I look at the reports that you just brought in with you?
No, sir.
I mean, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Just bring just put these to the defense counsel table or the view of the detective.
Few things, and those are just in case something comes up so that you know what we're referring to, because we have not seen these before, so we don't know.
Objection, Your Honor.
Withdrawn, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'd ask the jury to instruct the counsel that rights full discovery and take every item that she has been seen.
Well, that's nonsense, Your Honor. Let's have a hearing on it right now because we have not.
We need to do this.
Yes, Judge.
When he acts up, we're gonna get one.
We'd ask that these documents be marked for identification.
You won't take this man's, file from him?
We can run copies, Judge, and he can have the original file back.
When do you plan to do that?
The earliest convenience in the
Or
court.
to give it back to the man?
Sure, but we have it marked at some point as an exhibit?
Well, if you bring up any reason why it should be, yes, sir.
Okay. We would formally request that it be marked for identification and be made at some point part of
Are
it.
you going to be responsible for copying these 5 volumes or 4 volumes here?
I'll take them,
Ask the officer for it.
I'll take them and copy them myself, and the officers can accompany me. I'll do each page, Judge.
Be fine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Penner, who is Philip Williams?
I'm sorry, sir.
Who is Philip Williams?
I don't recall the name, sir.
Do you have any reports in reference to a Philip Williams?
Possibly, sir.
Could you look through your documents and find those reports?
Your Honor, I object to the procedure being employed by counsel. There is a proper method for doing this.
Well, he can more show it when he has something.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the officer did not refer to his reports during his direct examination.
He didn't even have them here, Judge.
So we are outside the scope, Your Honor. I would submit the counsel wishes to call the officer. He can call him and he can ask any question he wants of him.
You can go ahead now.
Your Honor, may I interpose? I'll have Mr. Boyd as witness.
All right.
There's a report that was faxed to you. If you could just look through that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Ronnie, may I be heard on this objection, please?
You're step into your room.
The jury's on the court, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, if I can be heard, counsel's asking this witness to testify to reports of other witnesses. He's asking clearly for hearsay. We'd ask, Judge, that the witness and the counsel identify the reports as to whose they are, at least, and not to try to make it look like they're somehow this witnesses. The procedure being employed by counsel is highly irregular, it's improper. The witnesses are available for him to call if they have direct testimony or personal knowledge. What he's seeking to do here, Judge, is to introduce reports of other officers who the state does not, at this point, have an opportunity to cross-examine, to determine the relevancy or the materiality of those statements, to the truthfulness of them, and lay in the mind of this jury that somehow this officer produced reports which are being withheld from defense counsel, which is simply not the case. We object, Judge. All we're asking is that counsel be required to follow the rules of criminal procedure, the rules of evidence as set forth under the evidence code. And if there are witnesses that counsel wishes to call, they should be required to call them. But for this officer to testify about other witnesses' reports that were faxed to him on other individuals, which will contain hearsay upon hearsay upon hearsay within those reports. And Judge, we would ask at least that the witness, if we can get a voir dire, as to whether or not this is the entire case file in his possession and how much of that file are his reports. I would submit to the court, I would suspect that the bulk of it, based upon the witness's testimony, is very little of it is own reports from other agencies which he has maintained in his case file as part of his overall investigation. All of those reports have been supplied to defense counsel. So we'd like to know how much of this is his report. We'd like to reflect that he did not use any of these reports to testify. And Judge, we'd also like to determine whether or not a deposition was taken of this witness by defense counsel. He has been listed as a state's witness since January of 1991. To my knowledge, he has never been deposed by Mr. Knowles, Ms. Jenkins, or Mr. Miller, or anyone on behalf of this defendant. At that time, any of these reports could have been discovered should they have chosen to do so, and they simply have chosen not to do it. Now they come before the jury judge and try to make it look as if the state is hiding items of evidence from them. And to that procedure, we object. We object to all of what Mr. Knowles is doing. It's highly improper, it's prejudicial to the state's case. We're asking the court to not allow it to occur.
No,
Yes, Your Honor, that's quite a grab bag of stuff. First, it's interesting to hear Mr. Damore's statements concerning what the report reflects, if Mr. Demore could tell us whether these documents have been in the possession of the Volusia County State Attorney's Office, because I heard a number of times here that we've been provided with everything the state has. I'm telling you, we have not had those reports. And if Your Honor wants, we could put on Ms. Jenkins, Ms. Miller, myself, and you can have a hearing on it. Those reports have never been provided. The name I asked this witness about has never been provided, Philip Williams. The questions that I intend to ask this witness about Philip Williams were developed by us while we were looking at the reports here in front of you. The reports are relevant, as Your Honor will hear during the course of the questioning. They relate to the investigation of the Dixie County case. They relate directly to the direct examination that Mr. Demore has elicited, including hearsay, including contact with other agencies, relating to what this officer did in Dixie County, and they go directly to the issue of whether Ms. Wuornos may be responsible for the Dixie County case. It's proper cross-examination.
It's obvious you don't have your act together. And I think it's not very polite of your lawyer part to inconvenience the jury with these continuing handling over evidentiary matters that should have been defended at trial. I'm not going to leave that jury locked up.
In my defense, Carmen, your brother asked me if I would like anything from the gas station. I said Dr. Pepper. Just like everything is out in Texas right now that you need, I didn't need a Dr. Pepper. I just wanted one. He came and said, sorry, she's breathing. She sleeps like her mom. And that's not me, by the way. He said they had no Dr. Pepper of any kind. And then he brought this giant sugar-free Red Bull from behind his back and handed it to me. And I was like, I haven't had one of those since I was sick a few weeks ago. I don't say anything to you about Red Bulls, except I don't have a heart issue, Miss Carmen. Yeah, it's just that's like a very back in the day sign. It's kind of like all the hospitals are no smoking, but you see patients out there with their IV poles and their in their wheelchairs puffing away. Like, who brought you down here? I have not. All right, let's hear these people argue. Like, no, man, these people argue a lot. And now the tiny judge is mad.
That room, I'm going to give you 1 hour to get your act together. When I come back, I'm going to proceed. And we're going to wrap this case up the way it should be done.
Judge, what I'm saying is, for purposes of cross-examination, our act is together. I have any questions.
I'm not going to discuss it anymore. I'm saying you have 1 hour to get your act together, and I'm going to let the jury go out and score out of the jury room because they're not going to be inconvenienced first.
And Judge, I don't mean to quibble with you, but my cross-examination is ready.
Well, obviously it's not. You're asking this man to refer to other things that from what I heard is something factual.
Well, let me give you an example. Remember Mr. Cocking in reference to this Pierce case. I asked that officer, who is Mr. Cocking? And it was very relevant information that was elicited. This is along those same lines. It's not a
What's up, Dill? Your daughter is snoring. Oh, she's stirring. I can't let her wake up. I just got her to sleep. But she was sleeping with her mouth wide open. So she sleeps like you.
fishing expedition. I think I have an idea of what the officer will say.
You're speaking with fork and tongue, sir.
With all due respect, I don't think so, Judge.
Well, when you say you haven't seen it, and all of a sudden you have all this knowledge about it,
Judge, we read it right before you. We read it right here.
I still say that's fork and tongue.
Well, then we would request a hearing, Your Honor. Let's have Ms. Jenkins and Mr. Miller and all of us testify, because seriously, Judge, it's not.
I don't need to hear what y'all have to say at this stage of the trial.
Your Honor, may I introduce one matter for the record? By letter, it's been previously marked as states 6K for identification. The letter dated June 7th, 1991, addressed from myself to Mrs. Jenkins at the Public Defender's Office. I'd be asked and supported
Give it to the clerk for
the internet as evidence. After the
You
year,
went to the council, I'm not interested in what it says.
And for the record, in the file, Your Honor, you have numerous discovery requests by Ms. Jenkins.
And I requested this specific material 3 times to Mr. Tanner since his trial began and prior to this trial beginning, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'm once again not going to use the L word, but I think the court.
Oh, I object to that, Your Honor.
So these little smart remarks, and you just have to overlook them, you know? If it ignores your, or whether it's bad, you say it's all right. When you see it's immaterial to me, who's off being ignored, I'm trying to try a lawsuit, that's all I'm trying to do.
Judge, Mr. Tanner and I have just kicked the matter around. Why don't you give us 5 minutes?
I told you you have an hour.
Well, we're ready for cross.
Judge, and we'll just simply pose very clean objections that it's outside the scope or something like that, and you can rule before the jury, won't require argument.
I think he was going for the liar, Gabby. That's what I mean. It was like that was a fighting word. Did you see those other attorneys were like, we're gonna fight right now here in the courtroom. This is over. We're gonna defend Ms. Jenkins. Oh my gosh. Puddletown. Hello. It does not. How do you know Puddletown? How do you know? Good to see you. The L word is not lesbian. Oh my gosh, she's really snoring. Also, anybody watch the Carly Gregg trial? Because when this judge said, I'm going to give you 1 hour, it's like, we're taking a pregnant pause. You did spell lesbian wrong. How did you spell lesbian wrong, Carmen, of all people? Good grief. Embarrassing.
He's ready with cross, and Judge, we're ready to proceed. Perhaps the jury or all of us need maybe a 20-minute break, but certainly not an
I'd
hour.
like to get rid of this witness before we break.
Yes, sir.
We'd like this on stand.
We believe we can do that, Judge. We think we got it.
Mr. Tanner and I have discussed it here, and I think what's happened is that whatever objection Mr. DeMoore started with has sort of devolved into a discovery issue, but I'm telling you, we're ready to go.
All right, we will get to it.
Judge, members, may we just introduce this for the record, not to be presented?
Mark for notification, but it's in the file.
Ms. Jenkins, do you recognize my letter of June 7th, 1991 to you?
I'm not going to testify, Mr. DeMoore.
That's fair.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Bring it in, jury. Yes.
Your Honor, so it's not to evolve in any further. May Mr. Tanner do the objection, I'll give your quiet. Thank you.
There's our daily shot of the jury.
Detective Tanner, during the course of your involvement in this case, did you come across the name of an individual named Philip Williams?
Yes, sir.
All right, before any rumors get started, I did not give my granddaughter Red Bull. Puddletown, dang it. Quit it. I have a Red Bull here that my son brought me because the gas station was out of Dr. Pepper. I'm drinking it with a straw, but that straw is only for me. I don't share my Red Bull.
What information did you ascertain regarding that individual? Who is it?
Mr. Williams is a detective with the Indian River County Sheriff's Office. The information that you're referring to is a faxed copy of an investigative report of his concerning Charles Sizelove.
Before obtaining this document from Detective Williams, did you contact Indian River, or how did it come about that information reached you?
I received information from the Calhoun County correctional institution, that there was a Charles Love in custody there that had information concerning Mrs. Wuornos. I traveled to Calhoun County Correctional Institution where I conducted a recorded interview with Mr. Love.
Taya, if anybody, if she's not allowed to spell that wrong, so I had to call her out. No. I don't know. He asked me if I wanted something. I said Dr. Pepper. They didn't have any. So I got a Red Bull. I didn't ask for a Red Bull, so I don't know if he got you a Red Bull or not. I would be embarrassed too. No. Why would a lady, a lady who gave her 2-year-old that? No. No. Pedal down. Gabby, all right, you guys. Behave.
During the course of this interview, I had met with a inspector with the prison system there with Calhoun County Correctional, and he referred this detective to me, saying that Mr. Love had indicated knowledge of a homicide that they had investigated years past. And this is that investigative report of Mr. Love's knowledge of that homicide.
When was it that you spoke to Mr. Love?
So I wasn't asked to prepare to present Mr. Antonio's case, so I have not prepared myself to
Just the month.
do so. I would guess late August, early September of 1991.
And you yourself actually spoke to this Mr. Love?
Yes, I have, sir.
During the course of your investigation, did you come across the name Susan Blankenship?
Yes, that name is familiar.
How about Randy Blankenship?
Yes.
Who is Randy Blankenship?
My understanding, these are two names that was developed by the Brevard County Sheriff's Office and had reference to the locating of Mr. Antonio's vehicle. These people gave the Brevard County Sheriff's Office interviews concerning seeing a vehicle being on the shoulder of the road in the area where Antonio's vehicle was found. And they described a second vehicle, and they described this being all seen during the darkness hours. They described, in general, some persons that they saw there.
And they, in fact, described two females, did they not?
Yes, I believe that they, both of them felt that they were females.
One of the females they described was heavyset, correct?
Again, I haven't read those narratives in some time, but I'm not prepared to, to say just what that description was.
The two females that they described, do you recall what the descriptions were specifically?
No, I do not.
Do you recall what they said about them specifically?
Specifically, no, not in specifics.
There were certain items of property found. There were certain items found in the vehicle, were there not?
Yes, there was.
There's some beer cans in the vehicle.
There were some beer cans in the vicinity of the vehicle. I don't think they were actually in the car itself.
Your Honor, may we identify which vehicle we're referring to?
The vehicle that the witness testified to, Your Honor, question go.
Your Honor, you got it.
Thank you, Judge. In addition, in the trunk of the vehicle, isn't it true that the license plate was in the trunk?
So I'm told, yes, sir.
There were also some 38 spent casings in the vehicle, were there not?
There was not.
Were there 38 spent casings in the vicinity of the vehicle?
I believe there was some found in the vicinity of the roadway where the vehicle had been backed off of.
Those were collected and taken into evidence, were they not?
Yes, there were.
During the course of your investigation in this case, did you receive information that 2 women were also seen in the Wildwood area? Do you recall the reports of that effect?
I have heard some discussion of that, yes.
And I think I put a tab in it, you could use it to refresh your recollection. Do you recall what date was provided as far as that report is concerned, as that cited? Approach the witness, Your Honor.
May I more dire on that question, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Officer, are you referring to a narrative of a report of someone else?
Referring to a documentation that's on Sheriff Don Moreland's letterhead.
But you did not make that report,
No, sir, I did not.
and you did not interview the person who was the subject of that report,
No, sir.
and you didn't hear the words of whoever that person was?
No, sir.
Your Honor, we would object as to the years.
If I may follow up on the voir dire.
Yes, sir.
Detective, you were involved and had contact with other detectives in this case, did you not?
Yes, I have.
With Sergeant Munster of Marion County, correct?
Yes,
With Brian Jarvis of Marion County, correct?
yes,
With Larry Horzebo of Volusia County, correct?
correct, yes,
Jerry Thompson of Citrus County, correct?
yes, sir.
With Detective Muck of Pasco County.
That's correct.
And all of you exchanged information, did you not?
Yes, sir, we did.
And the reports that all of you prepared were passed along from one to the other, correct?
I've only passed along those that's been requested from me.
Flashman, you can leave your numbers locked or unlocked. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If you use your number, I assume you have a set of numbers off to the right side of your keyboard. So that's just really personal preference. If you use it a lot, just leave it on. But just whatever you want. I don't know the year Court TV started streaming. Streaming was not a thing in 1991. But that's when they started. I'll take Flashman's word for it. Yes, I like that. Y'all ain't right. Was she really? Pam Smart? Huh. Did Mary Kay Laterna, or whatever her last name, come after Pam Smart? They were kind of right there together. That whole thing was weird. Like, teachers, like the song says, leave those kids alone. Gross. Nasty. Don't do that. I mean, Mary Kay Laterna, whatever her name was, married hers, had kids. She's dead now.
And you also received reports from these other officers.
That's correct, yes.
And in conducting your investigation, is it fair to say that you relied on those reports?
Yes, sir.
And I think the question is proper as to what the witness learned and what he did with that knowledge.
Well, we did, fine, you were asking.
What?
State detective, the way I understood the question, if you want to ask me what he did, it was all about it.
All I was saying, Your Honor, is you got to ask what it was before you get to what he did with it. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense as a question.
Well, I'm not going to let you
Sure.
have it touch on here, so.
Regarding information that 2 women were seen in the Wildwood area, what did you do with that information?
I have done nothing with it.
What date was provided?
According to this document, seemed to be September the 11th of 1990.
If Your Honor, please, may I respectfully ask board iron on that again?
Yes.
Was that from the report you just referred to, written by someone else,
That's correct.
based on the information allegedly by a third party?
That's correct.
Your Honor, that's precisely the matter I objected to.
That's stated objection on that.
And I ask that that answer be stricken from the record. The jury instructed disregard.
Disregard the last answer.
Mr. Antonio was a truck driver, was he not?
He had been employed in that in the past.
You have a document in there called a VICAP or VICAP, V-I-C-A-P,
Yes, I do.
like a checklist. Could you turn to that, please? That is a report that has sort of a checklist of items, is it not?
Yeah.
If you could just turn to item 138. In that item, you indicated that the decedent was not placed in an unnatural or unusual position. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
If you could turn to item 166. And just look at that to refresh your recollection. The decedent did not have his dentures, did he?
That's correct, yes.
If you could turn to item 167, you checked off there that this case did not involve an unusual assault, did you not?
That's correct.
When you spoke to Rose McNeil, you gave her a photograph of Tyria Moore to look at. Is
The
that correct?
photographic lineup,
And that photographic lineup included Tyria Moore's photograph.
yes, sir.
Where did you get Tyria Moore's photograph from?
I'm not sure, sir, where that was developed. It was not developed specifically by me, but in the course of the investigation.
You did not take that photograph yourself.
Probably at this point in time, there is a usual assault, Puddletown, because they were talking about the guy being being in a possibly homosexual relationship or whatever, and they were describing that behavior of other people that I was trying to phrase this in the way so I don't get in trouble, that are in that lifestyle and who had unalived people as being deviant, like using deviant behavior, not things you don't hear today. So it's really, yeah, they do phrase it differently because they're like trying to throw in that lifestyle as something that was deviant. So it's weird. Well, that and other things, Puddletown. I don't know if I can put that one up there. All right, we're almost finished.
You received it from other law enforcement officers.
That's correct.
Just like the information about Wildwood that you received from other law enforcement officers.
That's correct.
What made you ask other law enforcement officers to provide you with Tyria Moore's photograph?
I didn't ask.
They just sent it to you.
Well, it was brought up, we were meeting daily, we were living together, and the photographs, when obtained, each officer was furnished a copy of those photographs.
You were meeting daily. When did you start meeting daily, by the way?
I'm sorry?
When did you start meeting daily?
Along in first part of December of 90.
The identification that you talked about regarding, as far as Rose McNeil is concerned, occurred in November, however, did it not?
I'm not sure the exact date, but
What was the date?
So we have to record the date that he met with Rose McNeil, or the date Mr. McNeil indicated that you saw the car.
The date that you motioned to strike, Your Honor, and the date you first met with Rose McNeil.
according to the transcribed statement taken from Mrs. McNeil, it was conducted on December the 22nd, 1990 at 3:20 p.m.
And when you met with Ms. McNeil the first time, did you have Tyria Moore's photograph with you?
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
I believe it is, yes.
You did. Did you ask Ms. McNeil any specific questions about Ms. Moore?
There was questions asked about Mrs. Moore and Mrs. Wuornos. 30 some odd page interview.
And Ms. McNeil provided to you information about Ms. Moore?
That's correct, sir.
Why did you show Ms. McNeil Ms. Moore's photograph as opposed to just showing her Ms. Wuornos's?
For identification purposes.
At this time, is there an indictment in Dixie County regarding Ms. Wuornos?
No, there's not.
The grand jury has not charged her in Dixie County, has it?
No, they have not.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Just very briefly. I'd like to show you, if I may, what was previously introduced in evidence. That states, page 20 in evidence. As you, sir, if you could measure the barrel of stage 20 in evidence for me. And if you would, sir, from the inside of the revolver to the exterior.
Your Honor, may I have one view of the witness?
Yes, sir.
Sir, have you had contact with that firearm yourself previous to today?
Have I had it today?
Yeah, have you ever touched it before?
Not that I remember, no, sir.
Are you qualified in the area of ballistics?
Ballistics, no, sir.
Are you qualified in any firearms related areas?
Other than firearm training and of course my work, sir.
Colonel, we would object to the witness testifying as to the firearm.
I don't know anything other than the measure.
Well, other than measuring it, anticipating where it's going, Judge.
They really didn't measure it,
He can measure it.
right?
What is the length of the barrel on stage 20 in evidence, the firearm identified as a murder weapon of Mr. Humphreys?
Objection, Your Honor. Motion to strike and for instruction, Your Honor.
And the jury discarded the question as framed by the prosecutor.
Can you tell us how large a barrel that is on stage 20, the firearm that you were holding in your hand?
5.5 inches.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
No, nothing further, Your Honor.
You keep witness being discharged.
I guess we need to keep him to copy his reports, Judge.
And sir, you will stay available for us to also copy your reports.
All right. Can't do that next one. I don't have time to do it, even though she's asleep because she has an appointment in a little bit. So, ironically enough, the next witness's name is Aileen, and it is spelled, I think she may go as by Aileen maybe, but it's spelled the exact same way as Aileen Wuornos's first name is spelled. And she is the fiance of one of the alleged victims of Aileen Wuornos. So we will watch her probably on Monday. I think we have just there might be a couple. I might have to do a couple longer streams because we have 3 more before we get to Eileen's testimony. So she does not need to go to rehab. Paddletown. In 104 days, you're also going to fall asleep like that? Super baby, that's my mom. Yeah, you will not. You just like her too much. You won't even make her move. Nice try, though. But yes, so that's, yes, Aileen Wuornos does testify. Yes, she certainly does. She does not help herself. Just, spoiler alert. But yes, if you haven't already, don't come join our Discord if you want to. You don't have to be a member or anything. You can just join. And like I said, there's just a little bit of shenanigans that go on over there. Not going to say by who, Gabby. It's fun in there. Everybody has a good time. And it's great. So don't be afraid of Discord. I was afraid of Discord, but it's okay. I promise you ours is okay. Yes, I already answered that she testifies. Puddletown, the answer to this question, if you want to see a magic trick, is always no. Always no. Just so you know that, always say no. If either one of my kids ask you if you want to see a magic trick, you do not. Yes, have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. We are almost through the state's case here, and we're going to get to her testimony as soon as possible and get through the rest of this trial and move on. No, Paddletown, no. It is never, ever, ever a good trick, ever, ever, ever. So, no, just trust me. But everyone, Zach, if you're still hanging out, thanks for the super chats. Taya, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. And all the rest of the members, I appreciate you guys. I hope you all have a good weekend. If the storms are headed your way, a dare. Stay safe, stay alert, stay prepared. You know, all the things that we're taught to do in the Midwest in the spring. Do it. So I will see you guys probably on Monday. I mean, I'll be here Monday. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do anything on Sunday, but I doubt it because that's the day I usually catch up on everything around my house. So I'm going to let this one sleep for a little while longer before I have to take her to an appointment. And that's my day. So you guys all great weekend, and I will see you all next time. Bye.